Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating framework for character development, and it's one that's less about ticking off boxes on a to-do list and more about a deep internal transformation.
I think we all ask ourselves this question, right? What does it actually mean to live a good life? Is it just about following a set of rules perfectly? Or is it something else entirely? The idea we're exploring today suggests that the real answer isn't found in what we do, but in who we're becoming.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the core idea of this very different kind of growth. Then we'll look at what it actually looks like. We'll unpack how it's different from just, trying harder. We'll explore the partnership that makes it happen, and finally, we'll see the incredible impact it can have.
All right, let's jump right into the big idea. When we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, we're talking about a process of change that's meant to be completely organic.
This right here is the fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of focusing on a checklist of actions, what the Bible often calls works, the whole emphasis is on an internal change of your character. It's a transformation that Christians believe is powered by the Holy Spirit. Think of it as God's active presence in someone's life, helping them grow. It really sets up a contrast between a life that produces this good living fruit and one that, doesn't.
Okay, so if this is all about becoming and not just doing, the obvious question is, becoming what? What does this fruit actually look like when it shows up in someone's life?
Well, the classic list comes from the book of Galatians in the Bible, and it's this: love, joy, peace, patience, sometimes you'll see it translated as long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, what's really interesting here is that this list isn't seen as some kind of complete catalog. It's more like a beautiful snapshot of the kind of character the Spirit grows in a person's life.
And this is where it gets really profound. These aren't just 9 random positive traits that somebody thought sounded nice. In Christian theology, these are seen as a direct reflection of God's own character. So when this fruit starts to grow in a person, it's literally the divine nature developing within them.
Now, out of all 9 of these, love gets a special place. It's seen as the foundation, the source from which everything else, joy, peace, kindness, really flows and finds its meaning. It's the one that holds all the others together.
So this brings us to a really important distinction. The source material is super clear about the difference between something that grows naturally from the Spirit and something that we just manufacture through our own effort. You can see the contrast laid out pretty clearly here. Fruit comes from God's power. It grows organically out of a life that's centered on God. Works, on the other hand, come from our own steam, our own human effort. They're manufactured by sheer willpower, usually from a life that's more focused on self. And look at the effect. Fruit is singular. It all works together in harmony. Works are described as plural, and they can often pull us in different divisive directions.
This quote just nails it. You can't just grit your teeth and decide to be more joyful. It doesn't work that way. The whole metaphor of growth implies that this is a divine process. It's not some self-help program. It's a deep transformation that requires a source of life way beyond ourselves.
Okay, so if we can't just manufacture it ourselves, how in the world does this fruit actually develop? Well, that's what we're going to get into right now.
The process is really presented as a partnership, a divine human partnership. It starts with the Spirit actually producing these qualities inside a person, but, and this is key, it is not a passive process. The second step is our active participation. We have to choose to put these virtues into practice day in and day out.
And the crucial point here is that this is not about earning your salvation or scoring points with God through good deeds. That's not it at all. The effort you put in isn't a payment for God's grace, but a response to it. It's a cooperation, where our responsibility is empowered by this thing called divine grace, God's unearned favor and help.
All right, so this brings us to the payoff, the harvest. What actually happens when this fruit starts to grow? What is the real-world impact of this internal transformation?
The impact is huge, and it's multi-layered. It starts with you, the individual, but it ripples out into all of your relationships and can eventually have a positive effect on society as a whole.
So on a personal level, the benefits are pretty profound. We're talking about becoming a more useful and purposeful person, about learning to live and think more like Christ. And this leads to some very real freedoms, like freedom from a guilty conscience, or the security that comes from being a good steward of what you've been given. It's about becoming the person you were truly created to be.
But here's the thing, this fruit isn't just for you. It's not meant to be kept in a basket for your own enjoyment. It is meant to be shared. The love, the patience, the kindness that's growing in you is designed to be given away. This is how relationships are strengthened. It's a key way God's love gets shown to the world. It blesses you, the one bearing the fruit, and it blesses your community. And in the process, it strengthens your own connection to God.
And that impact just keeps spreading. When individuals are transformed, they go on to transform their families. Healthier families build stronger communities, and those communities can help shape a better society. It's this powerful ripple effect, where the internal growth of one person becomes a visible, tangible demonstration of God's character to the entire world.
So at the end of the day, the fruit of the Spirit isn't just some abstract theological idea. It's presented as the practical, real-world evidence of a divine partnership at work. It's a process that brings you personal freedom while making the lives of everyone around you richer.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If our character truly develops like fruit on a tree, it's worth asking ourselves, what are we cultivating? What seeds are we planting and watering in our own lives day by day?